Okay, in this video, I'm going to show you how to clean a palette. So there's a couple options for cleaning palettes, and I'm going to show you both of them. So I would encourage you to clean your palette after the paint has dried. The paint may be harder to scrape up off of the palette, but it is easier to dispose of, and there's generally less waste. However, there are going to be times when you need to clean just a small section of your palette so you have a little bit more real estate to mix. So I'm going to show you that as well. So I'm going to show you how to clean up a palette with dried paint on it and a palette with wet paint on it. Okay, first I'm going to show you how to clean off a palette with dry paint on it. Oil paint adheres to surfaces really well, and the oil in it makes it very flexible, which means it can actually be kind of difficult to peel off of the palette. But it's not so hard that you can't do it. You just need your palette with dried paint on it and your razor scraper. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the razor scrapers real quick. These are really sharp. They're razor blades, and they don't give a rip about you. So if you're not careful, these things can easily cut you. Nobody wants that. But even more so, you don't want to cut yourself with something that has paint on it. You want to keep the pigment that's in your paint out of your bloodstream. This is where paint can do the most damage. It applies to all paint: oil, acrylic, watercolor, latex, alkyds, house paint, ink, so on. You don't want to cut yourself, and you definitely don't want to cut yourself with something that has paint on it. Don't be scared, just be careful. So you'll take your razor scraper, make sure the blade is out. They often get packaged with the blade upside down, so you might have to flip it around. It can pull out through the side. You can kind of push it on the edge of your palette like so. You can pull it out, and then when you replace it or put one back in, you kind of push it in like that, and then press it down and get it where you want it. So in order to clean this off, what you're going to do is you're going to take your scraper, you're going to lay it down on the palette, find a swatch of paint you want to remove, and just push it away from yourself. When you're done, there might be a little residual paint. That's no problem. It won't mix with your wet paint. As you scrape, you will potentially create some paint dust. This is another thing that you need to be careful about. You do not want to inhale the dust. Once it gets into your lungs, it won't come out. So do this with a mask on or in a well-ventilated area. Paint fumes aren't that big of a deal. Paint dust, that's a big deal. Again, don't be scared. Just be careful. It takes a little elbow grease and a little patience, but you can scrape it all off, then simply drop it into the trash. You don't need any liquids or solvents or paper towels or anything. This palette has a lot of dimples in it, which is why you can see a lot of little specks. But that isn't going to mix with your paint, so you don't really have to worry about that. You can carefully clean the paint off the palette knife. Again, it is a razor blade, so be very careful. Never run your finger along the length of the blade, only ever just pull. There you go, the paint is mostly off. Anything that's left on there is just residual. It's not going to mix with your paint, and it isn't going to really affect the way you see the colors to mix the paint later. So next you may find yourself in a situation where you need to clean up a little spot on your palette so you have a little more room to mix colors. For this, you're just going to need your palette knife and some disposable paper towels. First, you'll just remove the wet paint that you don't want anymore. You'll get as much of it off of the palette as you can. Just move it over off onto the side, onto the paper towel. And then take another paper towel and wipe up the residual paint. Okay, that's it. So when you're done, all that paint can just go into the trash. Carefully clean off your palette knife, and then you're finished. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Just send me a message and I'll respond as quickly as I can. Goodbye, friends.